Welcome to another episode of Divine Awakening. I have just changed the name of the podcast. Just felt like it needed a bit of a shift, an upgrade, if you will. So it was very, very small tweak, but a very impactful gesture of the up leveling that's going on over here. And the shifts that are going to be coming into this space and all my spaces, if I'm being honest. It's very exciting, very beautiful, and I welcome with open arms everything that's moving through for me and eventually, of course, for everybody that comes into my spaces. I'm very excited of these changes. They feel massive, although it's just like remembering. And so before I go into what I want to talk to you in this episode, I want to tell you that as this space is shifting, I want this space to be that space where you can sit and relax and be and receive not so much information, although perhaps you will, of course, receive some things, but like let this space be the space where you not only receive with the mind, but you receive with your body, you receive with your energy. This is not a space to come and learn a few tricks, but to actually remember. There is a remember of who you truly are, a remember of everything that is available to you, a remember of your truth and your power and your magic and what you're truly doing here on earth. And so that's why I wanted to call it Divine Awakening. Although my business entirely is called DA. I don't know if you've known this, but my name is Daniela Arango with the initials DA. And I named this podcast Divine Alignment based on that. And now we're switching into Divine Awakening, but it's basically all the same. Is this divine activation, divine awakening, DNA activation, if you call it, if you understand what that means. But either way, I want this space to not just be another podcast that you come and you learn a bunch of things and is a bunch of information that just leave you feeling like, oh my gosh, how do I integrate all of these things? But I actually want you to come and sit with me, to take a breath when you're listening to the things that I'm sharing with you, and to let it be more of like a transmission that it actually is a take out your book and write a bunch of things that you're trying to learn. Because the way that I share, the way that I will be sharing, even more so from today on, is that is an energy transmission, is a communication, is an open conversation, is a remembering. And so that's the way that I want the podcast to be, that space where it's like, if you want to touch your soul, if you want to touch the infinite of who you truly are, if you want a space where it's not a space that is like throwing at you a bunch of information and telling you what to do and telling you who you are, this is a space where you actually have a space to be, to breathe, to remember, to integrate. So let it be that. And if you feel the shift and this lands for you, I would love to know. So make sure that you slide into my DMs on Instagram and you let me know how the new episodes are landing for you. I actually had a thought that not all the episodes are going to be on video as this one and as some of the ones that I just recorded when I came back to the podcast, because some of them are going to just be meditations or transmissions or just voice activations, you can call them. And I will be eventually sharing more like what actually activations mean. I've been doing activations for a very long time, but I didn't really understood what they actually meant until very recently. And so anyway, so some of the podcasts are going to be in video as they are now. You get to hang out, we get to hang out together. And some of them are just going to be recorded by voice because sometimes the camera can distract me, of course, as I'm looking at myself and I'm making sure that everything looks great and everything. And so some of these episodes are going to be just me closing my eyes and being able to hold a field of just silence and clarity for all of us. Okay, so today, this is a part two. So if you haven't listened to the previous episode, go back into the previous episodes because this is a part three series. And it was started because I was having a very deep conversation with source, with energy, with God, which as we go, just stay with me because I have so much to share and I've got to do it through like very short episodes because I don't want to go into like 1 hour episodes. So I have a lot to share, especially about, what aliens are, what God is, what other beings are, what spirit is. Like, whew, do I have things to share? Very exciting stuff. But anyway, for the purpose of this conversations of the episode that we had previously and this one and the one that's coming, it started because I was having, again, after a while of feeling like not communicating with anybody. I usually communicate telepathically with other beings, with other beings that are not perhaps incarnated in this earth. And so my psychic abilities are very like telepathic. And so I communicate with them in my head. And it had been such a long time, like, it feels like 2 to 3 years where I was feeling like, not 3 years is too much. Maybe 2 years where I have not felt like my telepathic communication was really clear. Like I actually had to force and try, and like I was just not hearing very clearly. There was a reason for that I had shared in other episodes where I was talking about my dark night of the soul, where I was literally like letting go of so many layers of old contracts, like ego deaths and, limiting beliefs, dismantling. Like it brought me to my fucking knees. And I needed to let go of anything that was not coming with me. And I swear to you, like I feel right now like I'm so light. And I have done so much somatic work in my body to actually not only just release it from the mind, because the dark night of the soul was very mental, to the point that like if it wasn't because of the help of eventually my psychologist who was helping me figure out what was going on in my psyche, because it gets really confusing. I don't know how I would have gone through it. And so anyway, I was mentally releasing so much, energetically releasing so much. And so now it has been like the final layer, which is somatically releasing those things that were in my body. And I swear to you, I feel so light. Like I feel like my body has so much more space to channel, to be connected, to receive. Like my sight has been um just awaken in a way. Like I can see so much now. I can see the layers of a person energetically. I can hear. I It's just a beautiful, beautiful place to live in. I'm very excited. I think you can even hear it from my voice. It's so nice to feel so clear and so light, not just in weight, but in energy. And so, anyway, as I was moving through that, as I started to hear back again, as I started to come back, quote unquote, like online and remember the things that through this period I had forgotten, I began to have these conversations with, you can call it God or the creator or the oneness or my soul council, my soul family that was coming through. And I wanted to just share these conversations with you because, again, this is not something that you're going to learn. It's just something that you're probably going to remember, because these conversations are so transcendental. Like they're so simple, yet so magical. And it's almost like a story where you probably find yourself and let it land the way that is meant to land for you. Let it awaken whatever is meant to awaken for you. Let it widen your perspective of your being. And so I shared the first one in the previous episode, as I said. So if you haven't listened to that one, it was a beautiful episode. And this is the second one. This actually was the first conversation. I was again starting to channel right. And I was in this moment where I was just like, I'm open. I'm open. I'm open. I'm open. And there were two things that came through that I want to share with you today. And I don't know if it's happened to you, but it has happened to me before, where there's times where I literally just like call for help, call for some kind of help. And so at that moment, I remember some of the things that I usually come back when I feel lost in life, when I have maybe lost the grip of like where I'm going and what I'm doing. I always come back to this baseline of God, show me the way, or like a spirit, show me the way, beings, show me the way, like whoever I am in that moment communicating with. Which again, I could share with you the different beings that we can communicate to and the different kinds of communications. Like, I'll be super excited to share that with you in the upcoming episodes. And if at some point reading to this or listening to this or feeling into this, you feel like, Danielle, I'm ready to work with you. Like I'm ready to open those portals for myself and to access that freedom and that lightness for myself, I'll be super excited to hear from you and figure it out which is the best way for us to work together. Probably if you feeling like you're ready to like lift the veil and see very clearly, probably it's going to be a one-on-one intensive. Anyway, so when I'm lost in life, I always come back to this thing where I say, like, just show me the way, like, guide me the way. I surrender. And I feel like we get to those points where we've tried a lot of things and maybe they're not working the way that we wish they would. And so I always come back to, like, show me the way. And this time I wrote in my notebook, God, show me the way, and I promise that I will show up for my people. And this was in regards to my work. I was in a point in my life where I knew that my work was shifting, and I knew that there was things that I couldn't see just yet about what my work actually is. And so I was asking for support in the understanding of the development of my work and what I'm really here for. So I wrote this in my notebook and I said, God, show me the way, and I promise that I will show up for my people. And here's what came through in that moment. And you can, after you listen to this episode, you can do the same. You can shut this, take a breath, write down, or even thinking in your mind, depending on what feels easier for you. And you can ask the same thing like, show me the way. I'm open to be shown, and I promise that I will show up. The interesting thing when I wrote this is that I said, God, show me the way, and I promise you that I will show up for my people. And God responded like, and it's not even that God responded, because sometimes in this conversation it's like, is my highest self responding, the energy that I just channel also responding, so it's almost like a oneness conversation. And I noticed that in that statement I had said I will show up for my people, and I missed myself in that equation. So then I said, oh, and myself, I will show up for my people and myself. And then the lesson came through, the remembering came through, that I needed to learn to show up for myself. And I'm looking down because I'm actually reading from the notebook. I was becoming, and I was almost getting to the final piece of that lesson. That's why that moment was so pivotal, because I was getting to understand that first I needed to learn to show up for myself, and that I was becoming a greater leader that does not abandon herself. And that was shown in the way that I was asking for support and asking for help. So one of the things that I do with my clients often is that I always pay attention to the way that they're asking for things, or even your vocabulary, like your vocabulary, the way that you're asking for things, or the way that you are talking about a certain topic. The answers are often in the questions. Listen to that again. The answers are often in the questions that we're asking. We just have to slow down enough, take a breath, honor silence in order to access the codes and the answers that are within our own questions. So when I said, God, show me the way, right? I promise that I will show up for my people. In that moment, whoa, I realized I'm missing myself in that equation. In what I've actually been working towards, which is already working, because most of the times when we are asking for something from the universe, from something to change, for some kind of manifestation, it's already at work. The fact that you're already asking for it means that it's already happening, but it's probably still in the unseen realm, meaning that you're unconsciously in the creation of it, but it hasn't landed consciously, like it hasn't clicked 100%. And so in that moment, I was like, whoa, I'm missing myself in that equation. And what I have been doing is I have been in this journey of self-love, but not the self-love of like, I go and bathe myself, or I take off when when I don't want to work, or I'll do my self-care routine. Like, no, 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 no. It was a very deep journey of understanding where I was crossing my boundaries, where I was abandoning myself, where I was not speaking my truth, where I was clinging to other people for responsibility, clinging to other people to show me the way, where I was leaking my power and trying to find answers outside of myself, where I was giving my brilliance to other people because I thought that they had the answers that I actually had for myself. So the journey that I had been into was the journey of taking back the responsibility that was always mine, which was to take care of myself and to see myself before other people see me. And so in that moment, I was like, whoa, I am asking for something that is already in the works. God show me the way, is showing me the way, but sometimes we don't see the way because we're so fucking in the way that we don't see that that is the way that we're walking. So in that moment, I thought that I needed some kind of other answer, like show me the way because I don't see the way. Where is the way? And I will show up for my people. And then what it was showing me, it's like you're already walking the way because you cannot become all that you are when you're willing to show up for other people, but not to show up for yourself. The first law of all of this and how your work is going to work and how your energy is going to impact and how you're going to become more of who you truly are is to reclaim your own sovereignty of your own energy, of seeing yourself, setting the boundaries where you need to set the boundaries because other people are stepping all over your energy and you're letting it, where you're not valuing yourself and who you truly are, where you're not seeing yourself and who you truly are, where you're trying to find answers outside of yourself because you yet don't feel safe holding the kind of energy that you are. And that's what I was moving through in that moment. And I was like, oh my goodness, the answer is in the question and it's already happening. And it's already happening. And so sometimes, and this is such a transcendental conversation because it's like there's so many layers of what I'm saying here, you know? So the next piece, because I don't want to make this episode too long, the second piece of this, right underneath this question, I had another one. And I was like, every time I lose myself, I also go back to this. First is I said, show me the way. And second, I say, use me as an instrument. And I don't know if you've ever said this, especially if you're a healer or somebody here that is here to hold incredible transformation for other people. I've heard this before from other people as well, and myself. Like I've been in this space many times where I ask, use me as an instrument of change, transformation, and impact for the collective and the greater good. I have this deep desire, and I know that as I do many of my clients and many people in general who are here with big missions to help the transformation of the collective, to help the awakening, to help us remember that we're fucking magic, have this deep desire to actually impact, to create change for other people, to create transformation for other people. Like I've always had that in my heart. It's something that it's undeniable. It's my desire to impact other people, my desire to be used for the greater good, for the greater awakening, for the greater change of all. And so when I said that, here's what came through, which was also a little bit of mind fucking, but also like very spot on. It is already using me. And this is me in that realization, right? Because again, sometimes when I trans channel, I can speak as if it's the person or the person, as if it's the being and the energy. And sometimes it's me like, oh, fuck, I realize and I remember. So anyway, this is me saying, it is already using me through my own awakening, the trials, the challenges, the changes, the inner transformation. Instead of being a mighty, mighty leader who speaks only from knowing, I impact through my story, my embodiment. And without this, I'm not that instrument of change. And so what came through after that, I want to share this with you, was a piece that it was almost like a collective remembering. So here is perhaps a remember for you. We are giving exactly that we want. We are giving exactly what we want. We want impact. We want to help others. We want to change lives. And we are giving the perfect opportunities to gather the wisdom, to learn about the concept in an experimental, embodied way. You are meant to lead by example as the embodiment and not the perfect picture, but the walking talk from experience, not from a certificate or external approval, but as a real wise teacher. Because nobody is wise because they read a book, but because they embodied the teachings themselves. Nobody's wise because they read a book, but because they embodied the teachings in the book. And then they had the insights, which made them a teacher. So rest assured that we are giving you everything your heart truly desires. We have not abandoned you ever. We are with you always. And this is now the channeling of the beings that are accompanying me in this awakening of this realization. Like, I'm here asking God, use me as an instrument of impact. I want to impact the people. I want to do these things. And they're like, it's already happening. But you think that that impact is going to come from saying beautiful things or from trying to be something, but that impact is going to come from your embodiment, from the women that you are becoming as you move through the trials and the challenges and the awakenings and the processes. Because reading a book, it's not going to make you a teacher. Embodying those things and then having the insights and the wisdom from that embodiment is actually naturally going to make you undeniably somebody that walks in that truth, not only somebody that speaks that truth, because there's a difference between knowledge and embodied knowing. And so I hope that this landed for you. Let it land, let it breathe in your field. Sometimes we're asking things that are already being answered, but we're not really seeing them. And when we're able to see those things, oh, it feels so good. Like a hug, like a wrapped of embrace of you're already walking the path. You're already in the path, even if you don't see it. And so the first part was show me the way and I will show up for my people. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm already being shown that to walk the path, or the path is to remember myself. The path is to love myself deeper, because the more I see myself, the more I love myself, the more I remember who I truly am and walk from that embodiment, the more I am me. And I get to fulfill my purpose here. And the other piece, which is like, use me as an instrument, we're like, what are you asking for? Because already being delivered to you, whatever you're moving through right now, whatever the challenge, whatever the trial, whatever the adventure, whatever the portal that's open up for you right now, is the one that is asking you to walk through it as the embodiment of everything that you know. Because knowing that magic is real, knowing that, there's the quantum possibilities, knowing that you are a freaking priest from another life, it's beautiful. But can you walk your life, and can you move in your life, and can you be the embodiment of that every single moment? Because that's what truly allows you to be undeniably a frequency of truth, and undeniably and effortlessly attract your manifestations with ease, because you're not just talking, you're being it. And everything is attracted to that truth, and everything is accessed when you remember that truth and you operate in that truth. So let this land. I'll talk to you in another episode. Much love.